Yes, to take it from here, I'm also joined by my colleague Shiv Varur. He's joining us in India Today's War Room. And both of us are connecting once again to Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP. Kira, great to have you back. I hope you're safe and all is well with you. First up, Kira, the information that is filtering in, huge strategic gain by Russia from their side, taking over the nuclear plant in Zaporizhzhia. What your president has warned is a possible nuclear disaster 100 times Chernobyl.
Correct. Putin is moving forward. Russian army is trying to get into all our cities, and we are protecting them. However, we do need the protection from the air. We need a no-fly zone, because if we don't get it, then there will be no way to contradict Putin in the air. And we will see more and more situations like happened this night, when he was trying to take over, and he's taking over the nuclear plant right now. So we, as people who survived Chernobyl and who know how difficult it is and how tragic that is, we know that radiation doesn't care what passport the person has, doesn't care about the borders and who is in the EU and who is in NATO. The radiation doesn't care about all of this. And Putin is completely crazy because he is threatening and he was attacking the nuclear plant. It was not by mistake. It was not unintentionally. He knew what he was doing, and his army knew what they were shooting. So he basically could provoke another nuclear crisis, another nuclear explosion in the center of Europe. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is the largest nuclear plant in Europe. So, like, when NATO allies are saying that they cannot close the skies for Ukraine, and everybody is afraid that the war will begin. So, what are you afraid more of? That Putin will create the explosion that will affect everybody, or that there will be a potential threat from him? And I think that right now everybody needs to accept the harsh truth. The war has already begun, and it began with more than Russia versus Ukraine. This is the truth about the new larger war where everybody is involved. So the Western countries should stop condemning Russia and saying, "Oh, we will make you a new UN note on like how you should stop doing." And Putin doesn't care about that. He really does not. You have seen no normal person, no country at war would ever attack nuclear plant, because they know that it will, first of all, have the results on their own citizens. And Putin doesn't care about his citizens. He's just saying, okay, go ahead, burn it.
Kira, by taking control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear facility, is Putin and the Russian army, looking to gain more leverage? Because if they've taken control of Europe's largest nuclear facility, they control, in many ways what happens next in the war, because your country gets 50% or 25% at least of its electricity and power from this one facility.
Right. And this is why we have been asking for a no-fly zone over Ukraine, because we are able to fight Putin to a certain extent. And right now he will be threatening not only Ukraine, he will be threatening the whole world by taking this nuclear plant.
Kira, go ahead, Shiv.
Go ahead, Preeti. Go ahead.
Kira, the very fact that there was a fire at the plant last night, Russia has blamed Ukraine for that. And, that Russia could lead to disastrous circumstances.
Oh, okay. So Russia is bombing our plant and then blaming us for that. So, like, does it sound crazy for you? Like, this is exactly what Putin is doing. He is coming with his troops.
Russia's called it, Kira, I'm sorry to come in, but Russia's called it a monstrous provocation with what happened last night there.
Oh, okay. So Russia brought their troops. Russia is attacking us for 9 days, and now they're saying we are doing some provocations. I think it's a crazy statement, and it should not be repeated.
Kira, the Zaporizhzhia facility contains six reactors. Ukraine has 4 different nuclear sites for a total of 15 nuclear facilities, that provide half of your country's electricity. With what has happened in Zaporizhzhia, do you think there could be a risk to some of the other facilities as well? In places like Rivne and, the South Ukraine, there are many facilities there. Could they be at risk as well?
Yes, I'm sure that they would be at risk. Russia is attacking us from all sides, and we will be fighting it for as long as it takes. But I want to say it again and again and again, that they are providing a threat for the whole world, not only to Ukraine, for the whole world. And there will be no difference if it's Poland or Lithuania or Switzerland. Everybody will be affected. And Putin is crazy, and he's moving forward, and he's doing whatever it takes to conquer Ukraine. And we will be fighting because it's our land, but we will not let him. We will not let him into our cities. However, he is possessing a threat right now to the whole humanity.
Kira, the fact that there was a fire there, I want to ask you: has there been any readings of elevated radiation around the area?
Not right now. Right now, the elevated readings are not confirmed, and we did not receive any additional information from our stations, throughout Ukraine, that would confirm that.
Kira, I think one of the grids, because there was some minor damage to an auxiliary building to one of the reactor complexes, and therefore, for safety reasons, one of the grids has been taken, one of the units has been taken off the grid right now. The question that, I'm sure your country's leaders will be facing right now is the possibility of, a clampdown on your energy sources, whether it is nuclear, whether it is your thermal power stations, where there has been an airstrike, in the Oktirka area, if I'm not mistaken, earlier today. Is there a possibility that the invading forces will be looking to create some kind of a clampdown on energy, blackouts in cities possibly, to speed up domination of the country?
This strategy is possible, and it comes along with what Putin planned to have and to do, is to siege the cities. The turning off electricity would definitely be part of this strategy. We know that.
Has it been experienced anywhere in cities? We've seen that happening in places like Kharkiv and Kherson as well. Is that something that could be experienced in Kyiv as well?
We will defend Kyiv with our blood, so we hope that it will not happen here in Kyiv. However, again, there is no good outcome of what is going on right now if we are not getting the support from the West.
Kira, that's what I want to touch on about, because, if I just have to quote your president, Mr. Zelensky, he said that this, with what is happening right now in this nuclear facility, with Russia taking it over, could be the end of Europe. This is the evacuation of Europe. You're trying, clearly, there is an attempt, and understandably, we understand the urgency of it, to expand, the crisis there. Does Ukraine feel let down by European countries? Does Ukraine feel let down by NATO, by the West? Because other than possibly giving you arms, there's not much that the West or NATO has done till now.
I'm very sure, and I have talked to many of my fellow parliamentarians and leaders of the world and generals, that NATO and European Union at some point will come to the decision to support Ukraine. My fear is that it will be too late. And that's why I'm urging everybody who is responsible for making this decision to make it rather earlier than later. Condemnation of Putin is not helping out.
So Ukraine does somewhere down the line then feel let down by NATO and the West? And
no, we don't feel let down. We are pushing right now for the right decisions to happen, because we all know that the only way to fight Putin and win the war would be to do it together, not alone.
What happens next in the city of Kyiv, especially, Kira? Because we understand that there have been some, after a day of relative calm yesterday in Ukraine's capital, while we were reporting from there, there were reports of cruise missile strikes, maybe about 20, 30 kilometers outside the city. Are you seeing are you hearing about an elevated number of attacks in and around Kyiv now? Some neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble.
So there have been missile attacks throughout the Kyiv and throughout the surroundings as well. We know that. However, we are getting ready for a siege, that the city will be surrounded, and we are right now preparing the food, the medical aid, etc.
Kira, Ukraine's nuclear facilities were a main point of concern even 9 days back when this invasion started to happen, with the first 2 days now. At that point of time, there were many warnings which were, sounded off by your own president, by your own foreign minister, by your own defense minister, talking about these very nuclear establishments which are right now under Russian control. How does the war change from here for you now? Because that's happened with what you said 9 days ago.
Yeah, well, our strategy will not change. We continue fight for our land. What we are saying to the world is Putin is not only our problem. He will create an issue. He already creates issue for all the countries in the world. Do you think India is very far away if there will be a huge nuclear explosion? I don't think so. I think every country will feel the result, because it will be ecological catastrophe. Ecological catastrophe which will have a huge impact on the whole world. And that's why what we are trying to prevent it, we were trying to prevent it, and we are fighting with it with all our lives. And right now what we need and the help and support from all the countries in the world, not only saying, oh, we condemn Putin, he's such a bad boy, but the support in terms of providing the forces to fight him here on our ground, to destroy our cities, to kill our people. But we are ready to do it, and we are fighting him. So why does the world cares less about what's going to happen to them?
Kira, is now a direct appeal going to NATO, to EU, to the West to put boots on ground?
Right, yes, this is what's happening. But we want to start with the no-fly zone to help our army to fight back.
But you think that's going to be the next big appeal, to send forces to Ukraine to fight Russia? That's the next step? All right. Shiv, do you have a question, or should we move on?
No, I think we can move on now. Thank you very much, Kira, for joining us on that big developing story. Preeti, by 7 or 8 days ago, if someone had said that the nuclear bogey is thick and right in front of our eyes, I think most people would have dismissed it and said it's an overreaction. Just look at how things have escalated in the last 4 days, Preeti.
Well, you're completely right. Appreciate you joining us, Kira. Good luck, strength to you. And Shiv, you couldn't be further off from the truth, because let's go, let's hark back 9 days ago. Let's, if you actually listen in and you look at the interviews made at that point of time by the foreign minister of Ukraine, by their defense minister, one of the key issues or worrying points were Ukraine's nuclear facility, were a main point of concern after Russia's invasion began. And that's actually happened. There was a fire there last night. Till now, fortunately, Shiv, fortunately, and there's, a big plus there, there's been no elevated reading in terms of nuclear or radiation leak around the area. But you don't quite know, because in war, how do you know where the next missile lands?
Exactly. You couldn't have put it better. The unpredictability of what's happening, Preeti, is precisely what has made this such a volatile situation. Shelling, and you well know, Preeti, because you're from a military family, you know how things can actually go wrong in battle. Shelling, are not precision, shells and artillery shells are not precision weapons. A shell can, there can be a lot of errors when it comes to standoff firing on facilities. And if things go one way or the other, it can actually spell disaster. These are, of course, reinforced facilities. We don't want to alarm people, but there are exclusion zones and radius of, safety in these places, which makes it so important to actually, keep fire
and the reason I'm doing so, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. We are cutting across live right now to Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General, IAEA. Let's listen.
Commitment to not to compromise these principles that I have mentioned. So, as I said, the facts are this. The request for assistance has been made to us. We are not ignoring it. I am ready to come. I stop here and I take your questions. Thank you very much.
So please identify yourself and your media. Thanks, DG Grossi. Jonathan Tyrone with Bloomberg News.
Can you please just clarify who specifically you're in touch with on the Russian side? You said you're in touch with the Energoatom and Ukraine and the regulator. And can you also please clarify, do we know right now whether the control room itself at that nuclear power plant is in possession of Russian forces, or does the utility continue to have control of the room?
Of course. As I mentioned, I am in touch with Russia and also, of course, Ukraine. Ukraine is my natural counterpart. In this, I should always emphasize, because we are talking about Ukraine, and they are our counterparts. However, we know, and this is no secret, there's a military operation and there are Russian forces there. Of course, we do have a number of contacts when it comes to the Russian Federation at diplomatic level and at technical level as well. This is the first part. The second part is regarding the operation you're talking about the control room and things like that. Here I should emphasize that for the time being it is purely Ukrainian staff running the operations there. What we have in this case, as we speak this morning at 10:45, what we have is in Chernobyl and in Zaporizhzhia, we have effective control of the site in the hands of Russian military forces. I hope the distinction is clear.
Good morning, Albert Otti, DPA, German Press Agency. Just to clarify, you said you're proposing a framework to basically guarantee the safety of the nuclear installations from both sides. How does a trip to Chernobyl contribute to this? Do you plan to negotiate in Chernobyl? I'm not quite sure.
We're going to be sharing some elements with both sides, and we are going to try to agree on that. It's part of the consultations we need to have.
That's the plan, to negotiate there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Setsuko Inaki from Nippon TV. Just to follow up on that statement, that who do you envision as your counterpart? That's normally a foreign minister. So do you want the foreign ministers of Russia and Ukraine to go there, or?
I'm talking with the political authorities of the countries, and this is also something that we have to know that this is an unprecedented situation. Normally, in diplomatic practice, one easy way out is to refer to precedent. It was done in this way last time.
All right, for our viewers who are a little confused, I want to keep that straight. This is the International Atomic Energy Agency. You heard the spokesperson of the International Atomic Energy Agency saying that help has been sought from them by Ukraine. He also says that because this is an unprecedented situation, it's never quite happened before, but the IAEA is going to intervene and try and speak to both Russia and Ukraine. He also specified, as we speak, the nuclear plant in Zaporizhzhia, which has been taken over, is being managed as we speak by Ukrainian staff. But there is an urgent plea that has gone down from Ukraine for IAEA to actually step in, and understanding, how huge this issue is, we don't want to be sounding alarmist here, but the situation, if one might say it mildly, is borderline alarming. We're going to get our viewers the very latest, but let's cut across. India Today has the best global voices on the crisis that is unfolding as we speak in Ukraine. Russian journalist Elna Baynazarov from Moscow on the fire at Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Listen in.
The shelling that has taken place at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear facility in southeastern Ukraine, there was a big fire there. How are you seeing this? This is something that has, put the world on edge, Elna.
Yeah, Thank you for having me. So that's the breaking news from Moscow, and everybody in subway, everybody in their social networks, everybody's discussing this news. But actually, as far as I know, and as far as the Ukrainian and Russian authorities have announced, actually no fire is been seen on the exact building of the nuclear power plant, because as the Ukrainian authorities, Ukrainian energy authorities have announced in the morning, the shelling was only in the training center close to the nuclear power plant. So actually there's no threat right now, no direct threat to the power plant itself.
Elnar, does Russia then also recognize what's happened in Zaporizhzhia is something that's extremely dangerous for the entire world? What's happening now? Will Russia continue to try to seize control of this power plant?
I'm not sure about the plans of Russia, but as far as I know, and as far as we know what's happened with Chernobyl's nuclear power plant, I guess that Russians would try to take control of the station, but without any shelling, because Russia is not interested. Neither Ukraine is interested in the nuclear threat and nuclear damage, because the damage would hit not only Ukraine but the whole Europe and Russia itself, because like the damage from this nuclear plant catastrophe would lead to the damage to the whole Russia and the whole Central European part of Russia. So this is why I don't think that Russians are interested in any kind of nuclear catastrophe to take place in Ukraine. And this is why I guess Russian troops led Ukrainian firefighters to extinguish the fire to the training center of the nuclear plant. So this is why I don't think that Russians are interested in any kind of tragedy to take place in Zaporizhzhia.
It's very good to hear that, Elnar. In that case, do you think this could be part of, the kind of signal that Russia is sending out to the world that we are in control of these very strategic and sensitive sites? Don't mess with us. We've heard President Putin and the Russian government, make nuclear claims over the last few days. They've, put their nuclear forces on operational alert. They've talked about the possibility of the next big war being, destructive and nuclear. Now you're seeing this incident at the Zaporizhzhia facility. Is this basically signaling and messaging, tactical messaging maybe, to NATO and to the world?
Actually, it can be this kind of signal, but to me, as it seems from Moscow, it's just a part of the bigger operation, because obviously, I guess Russia is interested in taking the strategic objects of Ukraine. And as President Vladimir Putin announced yesterday during the Security Council, Russian operation, military operation, as it's called in Moscow, is being on plan. It's going according to the schedule. And so this is why I guess that the taking of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was also part of this plan.
All right, we're going to get you the very latest. The big question that we're going to continue to raise with what has happened right now with Russia taking over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Will this be the turning point in this war? It's been 9 days. Ukraine right now, you had the MP Kira confirming to us that the next step of escalating in terms of asking the international community is now to start putting boots on ground, because this could, as Ukraine says, impact not just Europe, but practically half the world if there is a nuclear leak where this power plant is concerned. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you 9 phases of this war, which has escalated from day 1 to day 9. We're going to leave it on these 9 visuals, the 9 phases of this particular war, which is replete with a humanitarian crisis woven into the narrative of war. A quick break. Stay with us.